Chapter 1. The Note in His Pocket. The 5th of June, 1944. A tent near Portsmouth, England. General Dwight Eisenhower sits at a small folding desk. He picks up a pencil stub and a scrap of paper. He begins to write. Our landings have failed to gain a satisfactory foothold, and I have withdrawn the troops. He is not describing what has happened. He is describing what might happen tomorrow and preparing to take the blame for it alone. He folds the note, slips it into his wallet. In his exhaustion, he misdates it July 5th. He won't remember writing it wrong. 400 miles away, in Germany, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel is doing something else entirely. He's home. He's brought his wife a pair of shoes from Paris. It's her birthday. Rommel commands the very beaches Eisenhower's army is about to hit, but his forecasters promise storms too rough for any invasion. So Rommel eats cake, and the most heavily defended coastline in the world sits half-guarded. Neither man knows it yet, but one of them just made the worst mistake of the war. Chapter 2. A world waiting for the door to open. 4 years earlier, France had fallen in 6 weeks. Britain stood alone. Then Russia, then America, joined the fight, but Hitler's army still held the entire coast of Western Europe, from Norway to Spain, behind a wall of concrete and mines called the Atlantic Wall. Stalin, bleeding millions of men on the Eastern Front, had one demand for his allies: open a second front, force Hitler to fight on 2 sides at once. So, for over a year, Britain and America built the largest invasion force ever assembled. Nearly 3 million men, 9,000 aircraft, nearly 7,000 ships. All of it aimed at a 50-mile stretch of Normandy coastline that the Germans hadn't guessed would be the target. Eisenhower had planned to launch on June 5th. A storm blew in. He delayed a day, rolled the dice on a narrow break in the weather his meteorologist promised was coming, and gave the only order that mattered. "Okay," he said, "let's go." Chapter 3. The Longest Night. Just after midnight, June 6th, the sky over Normandy fills with aircraft. 18,000 paratroopers jump into darkness, into a countryside they've only seen on maps. Flak and cloud scatter them across miles of hedgerow and marsh, far from their targets. Men who've never met find each other by moonlight and start walking toward the sound of gunfire. Before he sent them up, Eisenhower had walked among them, shaking hands, asking where they were from. He knew the odds some units had been given. As high as 3 men in 4 might not make it back. He'd told them only this: full victory, nothing else. By dawn, small pockets of scattered, disoriented paratroopers have somehow done what massed battalions were supposed to do. They've seized bridges, blocked roads, and thrown German defenders into confusion about where the real invasion is even happening. Then the sea turns gray with ships. Chapter 4. 5 beaches. 6:30 a.m. H-hour. At Utah, the landing craft drift off course in the current, and by accident land troops at a lighter defended stretch of sand. Casualties are low. It's the good luck no one expected. At Gold, Juno, and Sword, British and Canadian troops fight their way through obstacles and machine gun nests, bloody but moving forward by mid-morning. At Omaha, nothing goes right. The bombers meant to soften the bluffs miss their targets entirely. The tanks meant to support the infantry sink in the channel before reaching shore. The men wade through chest-deep water into machine gun fire so dense that entire boat teams die before their boots touch sand. For 2 hours, Omaha is a slaughterhouse. Over 2,000 men are killed, wounded, or missing before noon. But they don't fall back. Officers with no rank higher than captains start rallying strangers behind them, ordering the pinned-down survivors forward, off the open beach, into whatever cover the bluffs can offer. Inch by inch, squad by squad, they climb. By nightfall, against every plan and every projection, Omaha holds. Chapter 5. The Tide Turns. Back in England, at 6:40 that morning, Eisenhower wakes from a short nap to a phone call. The landings are going. He still doesn't know how badly. It will be hours before full reports arrive, and days before the beachheads are secure. But the note in his wallet stays folded. He never has to read it. Over the following weeks, The 5 beaches link into a single front: Conn Falls, Cherbourg Falls. And in August, encircled near a town called Falaise, tens of thousands of German soldiers are trapped and destroyed, breaking the German army in France for good. On August 25th, Paris is free. Chapter 6. The Crusade's End. Rommel, once he grasped what had happened, called it plainly the longest day. Eisenhower had called it something else before it even began the Great Crusade, in an order read to every soldier, sailor, and airman under his command, promising that the eyes of the world were on them, and that liberty itself marched at their side. Both men were right. It was the longest day for the men who lived through it hour by hour on that beach. And it was a crusade, in that it asked an entire generation to risk everything for people they'd never met, in a country most of them had never seen. Eisenhower's failure note sat forgotten in his wallet for over a month before his aide found it and saved it from the trash. It's preserved today, a message that never had to be sent, from a man who was ready to shoulder the blame alone, for a day that changed the war and the world instead.